I'm here with two very brave parents, Anne, who lost her son, Weston, 14, and Kamal, who lost his son, just graduating from college, Ethan. Families shattered because they fell victim to this epidemic of fentanyl poisoning in America. Weston, Anne says, gave in to peer pressure at high school, took one pill that he thought was Percocet, and it turned out to be laced with fentanyl. Anne, what do you think made him vulnerable to this peer pressure?
I do believe he was preyed upon. I believe that these drug pushers are the same as um, drug predators, you can call them, just like a sexual predator. They look for people that they could groom. My son was a pretty innocent kid from a private Christian school. He was the first time he was going into a large school. He was vulnerable. He was stalked for sure. He had been asked many times, and at one point, my son yelled in front of a lot of people at Starbucks, "I don't want any, leave me alone." So this was something where I do believe he was stalked. Um, this was a murder investigation. And I think eventually he just, in a moment of weakness, a lot of people are around, everyone's having fun. He had hurt his hand about a week and a half or two before that, and he had x-rays, and the doctor actually asked him if he wanted Percocet, and I said, no, thank you. We'll do Motrin or Tylenol, it's just fine with us. But he had heard of it, and maybe he thought he could get away from it, away with it, and score some cool points. And for whatever reason, he tried it. And for what they believe is he tried a quarter of a pill. And it was less than 2 milligrams of fentanyl, and it still killed him. So it does not have to be 2 milligrams, and especially maybe because he was a child. But he was also opioid naive because he wasn't addicted to opioids. So
that's the case with both Ethan and Weston. And when it's new to your system, you are hypersensitive to it. And, both of these young men, the thing, it's not a chance to learn from your mistakes because it's one and done. And the thing we know about young men is their brain's not through growing until at least 25, and a lot of research says 35. And the last part of the brain that grows is the neocortex, which is the part that is judgment, foresight, the ability to see around corners and predict the consequences of your actions. So it's just tough. It's just not fair. And, Kamal, your son was older, but he didn't have experience with this, and he didn't have a chance to learn. And nobody was there with Narcan. Nobody was there that stepped up and tried to give him a second chance and reverse this. And that's tragic because with this epidemic, we need to all be on point to recognize what's going on and intervene quickly and effectively.
It's bewildering to me, Dr. Phil, that we don't do mandatory education around the dangers of fentanyl in public schools at all. This is not a mandatory thing at all, and I think it should be.
Well, it certainly should because, just think about it. We're talking about 100,000 people that are lost to this in some years, and certainly close to that in several of the years past. Think about what would happen if that many people were lost in airline crashes. That would be like one a week going down. It would be a screamer headline on every newspaper, on every TV show. People would be up in arms about this, but it doesn't seem to get the attention of people the way that it should be. This is epidemic. This is a major invasion. As I said, we're getting to the level that's been lost in 4 major wars here, but people don't seem, I don't know if they think, well, these are drug addicts killing themselves. No, that's not true. These are everyday kids. These are regular, healthy kids that are getting sucked into this, and this stuff is coming from China and the cartels, and it is an invasion on America. Why is this not a national emergency? That's my question. Why is this not a national emergency?
I believe it. I believe it's because of stigma. I think it's because people don't believe it can happen to them. And people believe it can happen to them. They deal with the threat much differently. And there is, stigma around drug use, and I understand the reasons for it. But I think we need to destigmatize drug use, become more empathetic, treat it as a disease, which is one issue, right? This is the things we're talking about today are not about addiction. They're about poisonings. But if you destigmatize and you take the right approach and the right awareness and the right training and the right legal change, I think there are low-hanging fruits around awareness. I think there's low-hanging fruit around harm reduction. There's low-hanging fruit around criminal justice. I think there's low-hanging fruit around supply. If you handle all of these four issues properly, and this is a government issue, it's a federal and state and local issue, these deaths can go down dramatically from numbers like 80 to 100,000 to less than 10,000. I don't think we'll ever get to perfection. I don't think we'll ever get to zero.
We can certainly make progress with the things you're talking about. All right, coming up, a hidden danger lurking where a mother thought her little girl would be safe. We'll talk to her next.
I miss Brighton every day. She was my only child, and I do everything I can to celebrate her birthday and things like that, because she's like my life still, and I keep going to be the voice for her and other people, and that's what I am doing.
Getting quality sleep can be a struggle. Beyond feeling tired, poor sleep affects focus at work, patience with loved ones, and leaves you constantly drained. Finding a solution is key. That's where Beam's Dream Powder comes in. This healthy hot cocoa has completely transformed sleep for many. With flavors like cinnamon cocoa, sea salt caramel, and brownie batter, each serving is only 15 calories and 0 grams of sugar. Guilt-free and effective. Dream's all-natural ingredients help you fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up feeling refreshed. It's easy to add to a nighttime routine. Just mix it with hot water or milk before bed. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil for up to 40% off. Well, joining us now is Cheyenne, who also was just shattered when her precious 4-year-old daughter, full of life and innocence, accidentally ingested fentanyl. I mean, can you imagine, 4 years old, and you talk about opioid naive, of course. And Cheyenne lost 4-year-old Brighton to fentanyl poisoning while she was sleeping over at a friend's house. Cheyenne, thank you so much for being here. I see you've got a big 6 behind you there. Tell us why.
Thank you. Yeah, so Brighton's birthday was on January the 26th, and me and her family celebrated her. Her dad's birthday also was on the 26th, but the big 6 there is for Brighton. She would have been 6 years old on Sunday.
Oh, wow. And Brighton was a miracle baby, right?
Yes, she was. Brighton was not, according to the doctors, supposed to be here due to her rare diagnoses of Turner syndrome. And during that time of my pregnancy, they wanted me to have an abortion. And I told them no. Of course, I underwent a lot of major health issues with her being in my womb and things like that. Brighton was in the NICU at UK Children's Hospital for a little over a month, but Brighton lived. She lived a wonderful life, a beautiful life. She was so smart and so sweet, and her life, unfortunately, was cut very short.
Yeah, and originally they thought her passing was connected to her condition and to a heart defect, correct?
Correct. The morning that I took Brighton to the hospital due to her not breathing, the doctors found a cup of fluid on her heart. And for about 3 weeks, that's what they had thought the cause of her death was. So due to the fluid and her heart defects, which comes along with Turner syndrome, and that unfortunately was not the case of Brighton's death.
So what did happen? How did she get the fentanyl in her hands?
So that is a question that I'm not for sure if I will ever have the answers to. The detectives don't have the answer to, and neither does the coroners have the answer to how Brighton ingested fentanyl or how she got a hold of it. The case is still ongoing, and there are certain things that I can't talk about due to those individuals not being in jail currently at this time.
Right. I understand, and I don't want to do anything to put that case in jeopardy or anything at all. So I respect that 100%. But certainly as a 4-year-old, she picked something up somewhere, somehow, and ingested it. And at such a young age and small weight, and in addition to being frail in some ways, it probably didn't take much at all. And I wonder how you process this when you find out, wait a minute, everything you were doing, everything you were fighting, that's not what did it. She was poisoned.
Yes.
How did you process that?
I still process it every day. It's very hard. I have a strong support system around me, and I go to therapy and things like that, but it's still hard to know that Brighton's death was considered a homicide due to the negligence and carelessness of other people. And I do believe that they do not have a bit of care nor empathy as to what happened due to their actions that had been shown in court in 2024 and 2023 when they were arrested but were released on house arrest. I miss Brighton every day. She was my only child, and I do everything I can to celebrate her birthday and things like that, because Brighton deserves to be continued to be celebrated, and she's like my life still. And I keep going not only for her, but for other people, to be the voice for her and other people. As I had always said, I will be Brighton's voice, and that's what I am doing.
Well, of course. More about this tragic situation after the break. $36 trillion. That is the U.S. debt, and it gets deeper and deeper by the day. Our debt has never been higher, nor have the stakes. The government is looking to slash the federal budget by $2 trillion, and no one knows what that will mean for your job, savings, and future. I've seen a lot in my time, and there's one thing I know for sure. You need to prepare before it's too late. I trust Preserve Gold to help protect my wealth, and I strongly urge you to do the same. They are the only precious metals firm I trust and recommend to my family, friends, and audience, and they have a special offer just for you. Text Dr. Phil to 50505 to get your free precious metals guide from Preserve Gold. With gold prices recently breaking records and analysts predicting this trend to continue throughout 2025, you cannot afford to wait. As a bonus, you can get up to $15,000 with a qualified purchase from Preserve Gold. So don't wait. Text Dr. Phil to 50505 today. We're back with Kamal and Ann and Cheyenne. And Cheyenne was devastated when an autopsy report revealed her 4-year-old daughter did not die of some of the health issues that she had struggled with since birth, but somehow ingested fentanyl during a sleepover. And I mean, you can just imagine how learning that your child has been casualty to fentanyl poisoning. And Cheyenne is spreading awareness through the Bright Light Foundation, named after Brighton. And this is just another angle of pushing back against this and fighting against it. And Cheyenne, you say you'll never stop keeping her voice alive and continuing to talk about it until there's no air left in your body, right?
Correct. With the Bright Light Foundation, and even outside of the Bright Light Foundation, I always say Brighton's name, I always bring up memories of her. But specifically with the Bright Light Foundation, I do a lot of speaking events. I speak at different addiction centers, even though I have never been an addict. I've never sold drugs or anything like that. But as Kamal was saying earlier, there is a stigma, and the stigma needs to stop because there's no discrimination when it comes to fentanyl. As we can see, my 4-year-old daughter, Brighton, is gone to this epidemic and the lives that are being taken at such an alarming rate. Through this epidemic, we offer additional educational resources for parents, grandparents, teenagers, and other things like that. So we are being a voice. I'm being the voice for Brighton, along with many other organizations and other families that have lost their loved ones.